Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to our Saturday edition video here in World of Warships. And no upgrade commander build video yet, and featuring a specific ship. I don't know if it's probably not gonna be till next week till I get one. However, what I do have for you today is a really good battle in the Tier 10 German Battleship, Battlecruiser Schlieffen. And so for those of you who may be not familiar with the Schlieffen, she's a high-speed battleship that inherited the traits of the German battlecruisers of the World War I period. Her main armament is represented by her 8 420mm guns. And what makes this ship pretty spectacular is her brawling performance here in World of Warships, between having these 8 420mm guns. And you can see that rear most turret is 360. And then we go on to talk about her being covered in secondaries, as this is a secondary build, especially in the 6th slot. We've gone for the faster reload of these secondaries, so they're just a beast. On top of the fact that you also get 8 torpedoes per side. Now those torpedoes, let's see, looking at the information, they have a 13.5 kilometer torpedo range. Their speed is only 50 knots. They do 16,533 damage, but they have a long reload time, 160 seconds. But you take in something account like adrenaline rush, that will help you out. We also have the unique commander. I'm spacing the unique commander. It's on the tip of my tongue. We'll come back to it. So we're here in concealed maneuvers. So there is a mix of bots. There's a mix of humans, and as the title is going to say, kind of giving that part away, although you have to see how it ends, is that this is going to turn into a 1v6 match. And this is actually not too bad of a map. So even when the situation occurs and happens, I don't feel stressed. I feel pretty comfortable because, one, this is the Schlieffen, and then here on this map, you have a lot of island coverage that you can utilize, and we'll talk more about that when the time comes. Now, so the other thing I didn't mention in how the brawling capacity of Schlieffen is fantastic is also the fact that she gets a hydroacoustic search, which they nerfed the hydro slightly. And I think, I can't pull it up on the screen, I'll have to look, but I think it's a 5.5 kilometer hydro. You know, I can't actually just look these things up. Luchin's was the commander I was thinking of as we're sitting here. So basically what I'm working on now is I'm getting in a flanking position because I want to get on the side of the Schlieffen. There's also Alaska here in the background. So we are utilizing the ions to close in on the distance. I didn't feel super comfortable charging right through sea at the start, so that's why we didn't go that way, if you're wondering about my decision there. So the hydro is, it's a 5.5 kilometer ships, 3.75 of torpedoes. I kind of nerfed it because the ship was really strong when they were going through testing. So that's one of the things that they pulled back. Now the things that begin to make the Schlieffen not as great as compared to her other Tier 10 battleship counterparts here in World of Warships is, one is her very small health pool for a Tier 10 battleship at 76,100, and also that she has, I believe she has the poorest armament of all Tier 10 battleships in the game, because of being a bit more of that battle cruiser in terms of her armor scheme. So you have to be mindful of that. According to WoW's wiki, she's got a relatively thin 350mm citadel belt. Despite this, her 150mm upper main armor belt, which covers most of the ship's side, resists penetration to smaller caliber shells and forces such ships to aim for her small superstructure to deal damage, which you don't have a massive superstructure here. So we're going to get more into talking about the battle in my decision making analysis, as now it's become A2 versus 6 already. So not so good, and we have a teammate that is going to be in a bad situation here in a moment after losing our bot Bilal. So when you're in a brawling engagement with another brawling battleship, it's best to always kite away from said battleship or be in a kiting position. As I'm just going to throw some torpedoes that way just in case he turns in. You saw that we had the hydroacoustic search pop just in case he decided to throw some torpedoes around either side of the island. We would be well aware before they came, because again, these are 50 knot torpedoes. They do not move very fast. But you can see we're not just full on running away as we lose our bot Soyuz. We're just taking our time being in this kiting position. It's much harder to deal with a brawling battleship when you're pushing him and he's kiting away from you. Of course, we are going to lose a lot of health with this being another Schlieffen. But we are going to go ahead and get that kill, and then we're going to turn our attention to the Alaska. So just watch the Alaska's health pool as these begin landing, as we're losing some torpedoes here. It's just going to diminish, because, I mean, when you're listening to this in the background, it's just so much secondaries that are just chewing away. And so, even though we're in this 1v6 situation, what ideally we want to do is isolate. The golden rule in Roller Warships, if you are able to, is to isolate your engagements on 1v1 engagements. So we had the Schlieffen and Alaska to deal with it simultaneously, but we got rid of the Schlieffen, and then we finish off with the Alaska. And as soon as we finish off the Alaska, and we see the Schlieffen 50 knot torpedoes coming, which we can easily accelerate away from, we're going to engage the Große. Now, the Große used to sit at the tier 10 tech tree position as we get a torpedo hit, probably on one of the other cruisers back behind Bravo. But they moved it into the premium shop. So, one of the things that makes the GK so good is her health pool. She has a very large health pool. You can see over 100,000. So right now, it looks like it's 22,000 if I'm seeing correctly. So I do want to respect GK's 12 guns. But I know that in terms of secondary capability, I outshine the GK. So we're just going to take our time here. Now you can see I'm peeking over to my right, and I kind of realized that you know, if there is an enemy player or ship that's in that gap, they could take an easy broadside shot at us, which just happened there briefly. So we're going to go ahead and angle more in. Now I think my torpedoes will, or not my torpedoes, my secondaries will finish off the GK before these torpedoes hit, but it's just kind of an insurance card. So we just want to be able to make sure that we have that. Also because we're within a 6-kilometer hydro and we're not detected. So we are going to get rid of him. We lose another set of torpedoes. And now a decision comes, do we want to push through that little gap and then go left into the cap, or do we want to have a little bit more room? So I have elected to, it's best in this situation to have a little bit more room pushing into the cap. So we're going to use the depth charges. We're going to see where the AA is, so we have a pretty good idea where both the enemy ships are. One of which is a human, and the other 2 ships are bots. So the 3 ships we've killed so far have all been humans. Now 1 human remains and 2 bots. So we're going to pop Hydro before you come around the corner. That's a really good move just in general World of Warships. If you have hydroacoustic search, you're about to enter a brawling scenario. Pop Hydro before you come around the corner of the island, not after. Because we have a Hindenburg. Hindenburg is the human player, and I think that's who our torpedo landed on earlier. And he has torpedoes. Now we get 3 spotted here with Lucians, means we get a little bit of a heal back. It's a small heal, but it's helpful. And Brindisi also has torpedoes. So there's Brindisi torpedoes from one side, so we're double fired. So we're gonna go ahead and DCP that. Waiting for Hindenburg to ram the island before we unleash the salvo. There's the Hindenburg torpedoes. And then here comes the next set of Brindisi torpedoes, which we're going to be fine in just being able to continue to move this way. So pretty comfortable situation now, in the sense that I'm not really worried about having to use my torpedoes here to deal with the Brindisi. because as soon as our main guns reload, we should be able to get the knockout blow, and getting some more another black ribbon in addition to the one on Hindenburg. So now, this is just systematically taking our time. It's the other thing with this, and what helps a lot, is knowing the capabilities of the enemy ships you're going up against. So, you know, I knew hydroacoustic search was pretty important to come around into Bravo because I'm dealing with two enemy cruisers who both have torpedoes, bot spam torpedoes, and in that type of situation, I'm sure the human player in the Hindenburg is going to definitely be utilizing his torpedoes. So, knowing that helps us to know how to navigate. You know, we didn't just keep sailing a straight line into the cap. We altered our course and we took a very sharp turn in, which worked out. So, to almost the extent that we still would have avoided torpedoes even if we didn't have hydroacoustic search. But it's really helpful to have it, and now we're going to lose it. So we picked up Bravo, and the last spot is, and let me just say this, the human player is not going to top the team for the enemy team, okay? But the last bot player is over in the cap. So I'm trying to figure out which direction is he going to come from. Is he coming out the south or up the north? Now, when I play concealed maneuvers, the only things I take with the brawling battleship is the combat signal for secondaries and a RAM. So I'm not taking all the other combat signals, as I'm just kind of expecting mine torpedoes there. And also a good screenshot to have if I decided to use one here. So Schlieffen is just a ton of fun. Now, the funny thing with concealed maneuvers is that I've had a good number of games without CVs at all. So I can make these brawling experiences really fun because there's not really many human players coming into concealed maneuvers with submarines, as an example. So I hope that, well, that's probably a different topic for a different time, but a lot of players who have been very poor CVs, never played them before, have been playing concealed maneuvers, so I hope that Wargaming doesn't take that and saying, oh, the support carriers need a buff. They don't need a buff. It's just you have players who've never played carriers before. Because I had another ridiculous game after that rune game I uploaded last week. So here's the bot. So we're gonna get that salvo off. We're just gonna go ahead and aim for that lower superstructure, and then we're gonna come right along the side. And his guns have already been facing on the in, and we want to have some room for these torpedoes to arm. I mean, you can just see how many secondaries we get in just such a short amount of time as soon as we round the corner and spot the Groba, I don't know. So FDG goes down, we're gonna get the win. So we're gonna go into post-battle results and see how we did. So we are going to get almost 300,000 damage with 6 destroyed, 5 torpedo hits, 844 secondary hits, so really good stuff there, with over 630,000 credit earnings and some XP and free XP. Then going into the team score, looking at the enemy team, FDG bot takes the win with almost 1,300 base XP. We ourselves are going to get 2,600 base XP, so it is kind of funny how well that bot did. So I think FDG is an okay tier 9 battleship. It's not amazing. Here you're going to see potential damage 1.8 million. Our secondary damage is 102,000. Fires were 25,000. Main battery hits were 114,000. We take 86,000 damage in total. Lost some modules along the way and some incapacitated. And here is what we're going to see with the premium count, how much we're going to earn at the end of this battle. So all in all, Schlieffen is a really fun tier 10 brawling battleship. The strength and weakness of the ship when it comes to brawling is that you need to know when you push or when you're taking on brawling engagement, that the engagement needs to end sooner rather than later versus something like a Preußen, a GK, Ohio. Those ships can tank and last a longer secondary brawling engagement. Whereas Schlieffen, you don't so much because of having that not as great armor, since you have pretty poor armor for a tier 10 battleship because kind of a battlecruiser, and that you have a lower hit pool, health pool. at 76,100. So often, you know, after you've taken on the engagement, you disengage, go behind an island, maybe you find a friendly smoke, heal up, and continue on in that engagement. And you can see that our 3 main engagements we had here were pretty staggered. So we took on, well, I guess it was 4. So we had the Alaska in the Schlieffen, we dealt with them, and then almost immediately we ended up engaging with the GK. He went down, we had a breather, then we take on the Hindenburg and the Brindisi, take them out, have a breather, and then we take on the last FDG bot, but not too much of a threat there in dealing with him. So if you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you have subscribed, thanks so much, I appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.